She has a little man that walks up and down the ramp. Because clairvoyant just means you see things, like out of the corner of your eye. You see something there, but it's not there. You know, our peripheral vision is all part of that clairvoyance. You know, most people think clairvoyance is someone who has a crystal ball and predicts the future. But it's more than that. Clairvoyance is more seeing things that maybe people pay attention to. You do. Let Yvonne talk.
My journey started because I had a mother that was so clairvoyant. She lost a lot of friends behind that, and was on the verge of losing her marriage because of that. Because my mom would tell my dad what she's seen or what she had a dream about or whatever. So I was raised around that quite a bit. And I was much younger, didn't understand it, had an older sister that was very clairvoyant, like my mother, but she was afraid of it. And she, being raised Catholic, and then we left the Catholic Church, my mother said, if you're that afraid of it, why don't you pray and ask God or the spirits of this world to take it away from you? And my sister prayed for months, and then she didn't have it anymore because she was so afraid of it. And I really didn't come into mine until I hit my late 30s, 40s, because I was never afraid of it. That's why I think the little man that walks up and down my ramp comes to visit me. He doesn't talk to me, but he comes up. I go open the door because I ask him to come in. He doesn't come in. He just comes to the door. And I have things like that. Like I can walk the room. Gloria knows this. Okay, I'm leaving. I'm going, because just that intuition of what a hot it is. Nobody has to say anything to me. And I'm sure you guys have had to have some of those kind of feelings also, because you're doing something that interests you and that you're drawn to. And I think when that happens, you become more perceptive of what's around you. And I believe it is a gift. Everyone doesn't use it as a gift, but I believe it is given to us as a gift.
I was telling Yvonne, you know, I see things and I don't want to talk about it because, well, thank you, Paul, for giving me this platform to talk about it, because it's kind of difficult to talk about it because most people just think you're weird. For example, when we went, my friend and I took a trip to Sedona, and you know what Sedona is, right?
Yes,
it's a vortex.
Yes.
Where two energy fields.
We have no voice.
I've been there.
We have no voice. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I've been there.
I can't hear you. You have no audio.
Oh. Yeah, I've been to Sedona. Yeah.
Okay.
I was stationed at Fort Huachuca.
Huh?
I was stationed at Fort Huachuca, Arizona. Yeah, and I visited Sedona.
And you know the twisted trees?
Yes.
You know about the twisted trees. Okay. So my friend Maria and I went there. And as soon as we approached Sedona, there was just an air shift. I can't even explain it. And I was telling Yvonne, well, nobody's going to believe this, but the mesas, they weren't mesas anymore. They were sphinxes, you know, like the Sphinx in Egypt. And they were nodding to me like, welcome home. You know, you belong here. And I was just like really freaked out about this, because who's going to believe that this is what I'm seeing? But that is what I saw. And
I would believe it. You know, a lot of people don't know about like what Africans and what the real history of the Sphinx was before the Romans and the Greeks came. So the fact that you saw the Sphinx is really significant, because that is the embodiment of Christ, the Christ spirit. Because as far as the African is concerned, Christ came before Jesus. Yes, Yeshua is what they call him. But the Africans always, before the mother god, Mara, had the son, Sun Ra. And the physical manifestation of Sun Ra, the sun, because they don't just worship, people think the Africans worship the sun, but the sun is the embodiment of that spirit. that loving spirit that you, of life and spirit that you're talking about, that you probably got touched with, that was profound. But a lot of people don't know that the Sphinx is the physical embodiment of Christ, of the how would you say it? Because Christ came. How that came before Jesus.
Christo.
When the Romans got there, it was already there. Christos is already there. But anyway, so the fact that you saw the
You
Sphinx,
just gave me
great.
goosebumps.
Huh?
You just
Yes.
gave me goosebumps because I had no idea about what you just told me. All I know is what I was seeing. I was like blinking my eyes, looked sideways, and they were still there. And they were so welcoming, so accepting,
Wow.
and you know, it was very surreal being there. I just felt like it felt like home. And you know, well, I just have these weird kind of experiences like that. Like I was telling Yvonne, when I was about 6 or 7, I was staring into a mirror, and then all of a sudden I saw myself from above staring at myself in the mirror, and it's like, why am I looking at myself staring in a mirror? And what was a 7-year-old, 6-year-old staring in the mirror? But I did not know what that was, that it was an out-of-body experience. It didn't scare me, but it was a long time before I realized, oh, that was what it was. I've never done it since. I think you have to also be open and develop such skills. Like, I don't see auras, but I can read the room. I can walk into a place and say, oh, somebody died tragically here, even if I've never been there before. You know, I just kind of do things like that. But most of the time I don't say anything because people will just think she's crazy. Why does she say these things? That Yvonne is one of the few people who don't think I'm crazy when I say such things like that. Like, I'll just look at her, she'll look at me, and she'll know what I'm thinking, or I'll know what she's thinking, especially when it comes to things like that. But we have been on this journey learning more about, you know, being an empath and how it affects people around us. And recently, this is very interesting. This is really very recently. I picked up this book, Life of Water. Very interesting. But